What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Hardwood Convos podcast here on the 515 Podcast Network. I'm Brock Bierman alongside, as always, Hunter Rose and Dawson Livingston. Going to talk a little bit of NBA hoops here after the trade deadline is officially over. We're recording here on a Thursday night. You guys are probably viewing this, if you're viewing this during our live premiere of it Friday afternoon. But NBA trade deadline is officially over. Some trades have happened since we last talked about the Luka Dončić trade, obviously, to LA. We're also recording in the process of the Dallas Mavericks having an absolute legacy game against the Boston Celtics, which, of course, because, you know, everybody plays their best against the Boston Celtics. But I don't know. Usually I ask everybody how they're doing.
Don't ask me. Don't even think about it.
Okay.
I'm great.
No,
if you want
no.
to know.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Especially this guy. I made it very apparent in our group chat that I hope everyone a part of this podcast does not have a very good time for the next year or so.
I mean, do you want to start with that?
No, I don't.
Trade, or do you want to start with the one that broke last night?
I would rather wait and talk about it. I could go on forever.
Okay. Well then, out of respect for you, we will start with a different trade. Last night, while we were recording the 515 Sports Podcast episode, the Super Bowl preview involving everything but the actual game itself, which if you haven't seen, go back and listen to it. It's a great time. Hunter actually joined the podcast to talk a little bit about Kendrick Lamar, the halftime show, and what to expect from that. And then we also made just some fun little prop bets, hypothetical money. We don't actually put any money on this, on, you know, national anthem over under, Gatorade color, Tom Brady's tie color, first song at the halftime show, whether a coach or player will appear live during the national anthem to be crying. So if you're interested in that fun kind of stuff, tune into the 515 Sports Podcast on pretty much anything that we post our podcast on: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, or audio only on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But let's get into, obviously, some of the bigger trades. This one that I was kind of hyping up as we were getting this started broke last night. Jimmy Butler, after saying he wasn't going to re-sign with Golden State, finds a way to still end up getting traded to the Golden State Warriors. And I mean, obviously, if you're watching the video feed of this podcast, this wasn't a straight up deal, Jimmy Butler for Andrew Wiggins. The official trade, I think, was a 4-team
trade. Yeah.
4-team, 5-team?
4.
Looks like 5 on here. Golden State got Jimmy Butler. Miami got Kyle Anderson, Davion Mitchell, Andrew Wiggins, and a 2025 protected first-round pick. Detroit got Dennis Schroeder, Lindy Waters the third. Dennis Schroeder also got cut from the sounds of it. Utah got KJ Martin, Josh Richardson. So go figure, Danny Ainge again involved in another big trade. And then the Toronto Raptors also got involved with getting PJ Tucker and a 2026 second-round pick from, via Los Angeles. That's the pick that they own, and then cash considerations. I'm assuming you two were both on the same boat as me, thinking that this trade wasn't going to happen, as in Jimmy going to Golden State, because he made it clear that he wasn't going to re-sign with them. This trade still happened anyways. What were your thoughts on this trade as a whole? Did Golden State give up enough? Not enough? Did Miami get enough in return for Jimmy Butler? Or if you want to talk about the other 3 teams that are also involved in this trade, feel free to pitch in on that as well. But what are your thoughts on this trade as a whole? Golden State contenders again, or is this a nothing?
We will be remembering this as the Josh Richardson trade. But yeah, this was weird. I need someone someday, probably within the next year, otherwise I'll forget about it, to make just a documentary on the past 2 months about Jimmy Butler, because I just need to know. I have to know everything that happened, because there were so many teams involved, supposedly involved, so many. I'm not playing for your franchise. If I remember right, I don't know if this was true or not. Supposedly, I might be getting senteled here, which would be hilarious to now just admit it. But I swear I saw something along the lines of Jimmy Butler being like, "Yeah, I guess I'll stay," and then nothing. And then if I remember right, I think Golden State's now going to be paying him $60 million a year, which is insane. First of all, to be paying that guy that much money. But I guess, to be honest, I think it just shows how desperate Golden State really is at this point. Because they have just been so weird with like, oh, well, we're going to like get these young guys and like Kuminga's untouchable. Like we also just have Steph Curry. So like we want to win now. So it's a weird balance going on here. Honestly, I really don't hate what the Heat got in return. Andrew Wiggins obviously isn't the same, doesn't probably bring the same impact that he did when Golden State won the title a few years back. But honestly, him being on this team just kind of makes sense, especially with the Heat moving forward with Bam and Tyler Hero. So yeah, I'm interested to see how the Heat really look. I honestly don't think I'm on the Golden State contender thing. I think this probably shows that they think they can compete, which obviously even last year, I remember all of us kind of even talking about how because the West is so, I guess, stacked, any team can really win. And so I think Golden State's just showing that like they think they can still beat supposedly the best teams. So
Yeah, I thought the move was fine. I thought Miami, given circumstances, I thought they did a pretty good job with this trade. Granted, Butler didn't play most of the season, like the last few months. And the fact that they're able to turn that into Wiggins, who's been pretty solid this year, Kyle Anderson, who's a decent role player, might play some minutes for him, and then they get a first-round pick. I feel like Miami did pretty well. I know they didn't get the haul that Phoenix was probably going to offer, but again, Phoenix is probably going to give you Bradley Beal with 3 years left on that horrendous contract. So I think Miami did pretty well given circumstances. I don't know if this puts Golden State in the realm of contender. I do like they kept Draymond Green. They were able to keep Kuminga. They were able to keep Pods. Like they still have some good pieces around, but they weren't able to get a center today. So they don't really have any size or physicality outside of like Draymond, and even then Draymond's only like 6'6". So I think given the circumstances, the Warriors did good. I think this is a play-in exit team with just how loaded the West is. Granted, this team has Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler now. They have the talent to go make a run, maybe win a playoff series if they're not supposed to. But I just don't think this puts them even close to the realm of contention.
You might be the only one that was happy that Draymond Green didn't get involved in this trade. I don't understand how that guy is so lucky. I don't know if it's loyalty or whatever, but like if given the opportunity, if I'm Golden State, I'm trying to find a way to get him out and see if I can find a way to get any assets for him. And maybe there is no value.
That's the thing.
Yeah, maybe the NBA, the rest of the NBA sees what I see. I don't know if Dawson or Hunter, you guys would agree, but I don't think Draymond has any value to any team in the NBA. And so Jimmy Butler getting traded there, that makes Jimmy Butler the obvious two for this situation. Steph Curry pretty much was kind of the easy one, still is the easy one, but there was like a distant second, like probably Andrew Wiggins. But like even then, like I don't know if I would have considered him like the obvious number two. Jimmy Butler is an obvious number two. The problem is the Western Conference is so difficult to play in, and this roster is not built for a deep Western Conference run. If Golden State happened to be located on the East Coast, I actually think that there would be I could see a situation where they can make a deep playoff run. Just because how crazy the East seems to be every year in terms of like teams out of nowhere playing really well. And that's why I think Miami actually is in a good situation. Like Dawson said, Andrew Wiggins has had really good playoff runs, or has had a good playoff run and a good finals run for the Warriors a couple years back. But the Miami Heat also have a couple players who have experience playing in the finals as well. There isn't a absolute star on this team where I'm like, yes, they have a way to get to the finals. They have the guy that can take them over the top. And I can't decide whether or not that's a good thing if that makes sense. Because sometimes having a good team outweighs having a good star and then a bunch of good role players. But I need to see the Miami Heat play a couple games together before I can decide whether or not I like the gel, or it's gelling together, or if it's just not a good fit for Wiggins and the Miami Heat. But I do think that Miami and Golden State are in better situations than they were before this trade was made last night. Speaking, I mean, I was going to wait to talk about this guy, but since he was involved in the trade, Dennis Schroeder has had an interesting couple of days. I don't know how many teams he's been traded to. Has anybody
so foul?
Oh, the Atlanta Hawks one.
That's so bad.
Has anyone seen how many teams he's been traded to in the last couple days? Because I swear he's been traded to 4. This man almost completed the Shaq jersey rainbow in a span of 4 days. Not even 4 days, depending on how quickly some of these trades turned around. Finally ended up, I think, in Detroit was his final stop before getting cut. So he is still available if any team is wanting Dennis Schroeder on their roster. So any thoughts? Do you guys think he will get picked up? I think he could get picked up by a team that's looking for a backup point guard in a title contending situation. But are there teams for you guys that you think would be good fits for Schroeder, if any? Of course.
I think the Bulls need another guard. They definitely don't have too many. They need more.
Are you trying to make fun of the fact that they re-signed Lonzo Ball?
And everything else that they've done at this point.
They just
need more. We've seen the whole, OKC Thunder running, their 3 guards. Forget that. Go 5. Go 5 guards. And have your 6th man be a guard too. Might as well.
But legit, Hunter, is there a team? I get it. I think it's kind of hilarious too. I'm questioning the Bulls. I mean, everybody's questioning Chicago sports and what they've done over the last decade. We talked about that last night. But is there a legit team that you think could fit with Dennis Schroeder, title contention wise?
I honestly don't know. I'm trying to think of current contenders because even Dennis Schroeder, I'm not trying to say Dennis Schroeder's an all-star level guard. He definitely is a starting level. He can fit the bill a little bit. He's definitely gonna mess up here and there. I honestly don't know how many teams are missing someone that can just handle the ball, to be honest, and just get the offense going. Maybe I don't know. I could see the Suns being stupid and just being oh, come over here, on that minimum. But I don't even know if they can, honestly, based off of whatever his contract was from before, with them being with all the apron rules that, by the way, are just atrocious in the first place. But
could Miami be a good fit for him?
Maybe.
I feel like that would basically be waving the flag on the Terry Rozier thing. That would be over. I get that. There.
Yeah.
Which it kind of already has been, but it would definitely would be.
Because I think he could be a valuable asset for sure. For certain teams. The problem is like you mentioned, there aren't many contending teams right now that are looking for that said guard. You look at Cleveland's got their guys in the guard position. Boston have their guys. New York, not real. I don't think they're looking for anyone. Indiana's not looking for anyone. Obviously, they're going to just stay with. They don't need a backup. They're going to rely on Tyrese really. Milwaukee, I don't know. Would you take him if he wanted to come to Milwaukee?
No, I would not.
Okay, so that puts the end to that. And then you go to the West, and it just gets much worse because there's bigger stars point guard wise. So yeah.
I don't even think he could sign with Milwaukee via the apron rules. So
that's
the way that dumb. The apron rules state if a player's making more than the mid-level and they get bought out in the season, they can't be signed by any team over the first apron. So that includes teams like the Nuggets, the Lakers, the Bucks, the Knicks, the Celtics, the Wolves, and the Suns. So those 7 teams automatically cannot sign a guy like Dennis Schroeder. But that leaves open the door for like Dallas could sign him. I guess he could go back to Golden State, but that would be really funny. Memphis could sign him. Houston could sign him, which he's already been there before. OKC could theoretically sign him. Like, if you want to talk about those kind of contenders, they can sign him, but none of the other 7 teams that I listed can't sign him because of the first apron rules.
What about Sacramento? They don't necessarily have a point guard anymore.
That team's just trying to be the Chicago Bulls.
I don't know if I call them contenders personally.
No.
Yeah, I get that.
I feel like the Grizzlies wouldn't be a terrible fit.
I could see that. I mean, they just traded Marcus Smart.
I mean, Schroeder's not an all-worldly defender, but if you want some scoring off the bench,
yeah.
I mean, I feel like he could bring some of that. Maybe I can't even say OKC. OKC has so much guard depth that it's insane.
Yeah, they don't need an. If Oklahoma City adds anybody, I'll be shocked at this point. But we'll see if he ends up on a team. I mean, just when you think he's out, he finds another way to get back on a roster at this point. It seems like year after year, he finds a way to get on an NBA roster. So we'll see if he ends up with anyone. Speaking of the Sacramento Kings, they made another trade. This was kind of expected in terms of De'Aaron Fox getting traded. But we also have other players involved, resulting in Zach LaVine going to Sacramento and recreating what you guys just said, the Chicago Bulls in Sacramento. What are your guys' thoughts on this trade? I think this is a great trade for San Antonio more than anything. I think it sets them up for a really bright future because I think De'Aaron Fox is an elite guard in the NBA. And given the right tools and the right roster to work with, I think he could be one of the best. And pairing him with Wemby, that's going to be fun to watch. And he's got, I don't know if he's signed, I think it's 1-year deal, right, with Chris Paul. But like he has that how many months left in the season to really pick the brain of arguably the best pure point guard or the last pure point guard in NBA history. So what are your guys' thoughts on this? These couple trades involving the Kings, the Bulls, and the Spurs?
The Bulls, dude. What are the Bulls doing? The Bulls traded Zach LaVine for 40 cents on the dollar. And LaVine was having a good year. I know that's not going to be the storyline of this trade, because it shouldn't be, but it cannot go unnoticed that the Bulls, all they got in return for LaVine was their own pick back, Zach Collins, Trey Jones, and an expensive guard in Kevin Huerter. Whereas the Spurs, all they gave up really was first-round picks that aren't really valuable and like a couple role players, and we were able to get Zach or De'Aaron Fox. So grade A by the Spurs. Bulls, I'm still trying to figure out what you're doing. So
yeah, the Bulls. I love the Bulls. I might be a Bulls fan now, honestly, just to like simply for the fact that I can make fun of them now, like and just focus on that. Like I myself do not watch the WNBA much, but I am a Caitlin Clark hater. I'm just going to be a Bulls hater now. That's just what I'm going to do. And it's going to be awesome. On the Kings side, again, like I'm just lost. I will say I am curious to see, because they got a handful of picks. I'm curious to see what the value of those are. But even then, it's like you just recreated this mid team. Are just going to be stuck in the middle and honestly just the bottom of the West at some point, because the teams that are below you in the West are going to be better, aka, the Spurs, who are not that far behind in the first place. Surprisingly, the Trailblazers are just good at basketball now. Still don't know how that works. I don't know if that's going to continue or not, but again, possibility. You still have the Thunder that are all the teams ahead of you are probably going to stay ahead of you. And so all of a sudden, like they're just gonna have to retrade like half the players they just got. Well, not half the players, but like DeMar and eventually, heck, I don't know. Do you even trade Sabonis at some point? Like I don't know how old Sabonis is, but like, does he fit the timetable of this supposed of all these picks you're gonna get in the future? I just don't. Like another documentary there. Like 2 years ago, we were raving about how this Kings offense was revolutionary and great, and now here we are with another mid team. Yeah, echoing what you guys have said though with the Spurs, I don't think that really needs to be talked about. I don't have to talk about it too much because I think you guys hit it on the head. Where it's just like they're gonna be fun. They're gonna be fun.
So fun
like,
to watch.
The way you are, like Wemby's already looking phenomenal this year, and to have him with a guy that just can pace set the heck out of their offense and what they can do on the floor is going to be incredible. So,
well, Fox's first game, didn't you have a double-double? Didn't you have like 25 and 14?
I don't think
so.
Actually.
Let me look here.
I know.
Thought he had a pretty insane debut game with the Spurs.
I know Wemby had a nice putback dunk at the end.
Yeah, he had a double-double.
24 and 13. Like,
they're going to be so fun to watch.
They still have picks too, which is the scary part. Like they didn't even give up half the picks
which is just making the situation for the Kings even worse. The Bulls situation is hilarious because they obviously have just accepted that it seems like their franchise's like idea of success is butts and seats at games, and so they sign these guys hoping that it drives ticket prices, and then once they see them dip a little bit, they get rid of them. They never try to contend for an NBA championship. They'll take the NBA playoff bonus checks that they probably get for ticket sales or whatever. But it seems like they never like try to actually contend. And they're a big market. They still are a big market. It's just that no one wants to go play for them because they know that they're not in it for the actual part of the basketball that matters, and that's winning. So good for them for getting Zach Collins, Trey Jones, and Kevin Huerter. We'll see what they'll be able to do, but I don't expect anything to come from that situation. And yeah, I guess good luck. Another trade that happened. Brandon Ingram is officially on the move.
Gross.
This Hunter's laughing.
Just another team, man. I love the East Coast so much. Like the Eastern Conference is so fun. Like,
what is
man,
doing?
Dude,
just the best,
but like
all-star playing team.
Yeah.
Golly.
I'm okay. I'm trying. There's a very small part of me that could see like this is like a roster built of players that had potential and never panned out, but still there's that small part of me that's like, what if the potential finally happens? I don't know. You know what? Because they got James Wiseman as well. I don't know. Part of me wants to have hope that there's like maybe a smidge chance that Brandon Ingram can officially become the Brandon Ingram that everybody's projecting for the last 10 years. It's pretty much the equivalent of Jaylen Brown saying that he was going to have 10 championships by 2025, whatever it was. But the official trade was Brandon Ingram to the Toronto Raptors for Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, a second-round pick, and a first-round pick. That's still a bigger package than what the Dallas Mavericks gave up for Luka. What I have learned is that I need to know who put this trade together for the Mavericks, man, because it just keeps getting worse every time you start looking at these deals. Brandon Ingram has been injury prone. I mean, I don't know how many games he's been out this year specifically, but like it seems like he's hurt way more than he should be. Excuse me. So in terms of like, I guess value, like what the two teams in this trade involved, the Raptors got the better end, but like both teams, I think at the end of the day are going to like not get anything beneficial out of it.
This trade gets a doom for both teams.
Ain't no way you just did that.
5 big dooms.
Dude, this trade, I saw this come across my timeline, and It makes literally no sense by any way you look at it. Like, Ingram was probably leaving in free agency. I get that. Like, if you're New Orleans, you want to get value, that's fine. The players you're getting back, you're going to get back Bruce Brown, who you're then probably going to buy out from everything that's being reported. He's probably going to be a buyout candidate, so you're not even going to have him on the team. You're going to get Kelly Olynyk, who, he might average 10 and 7 the rest of the year. But then you get a second-round pick and a first-round pick for Indiana. Indiana's going to be solid next year. Like, you would hope that they're going to be in playoff contention, like that around that 4-5 seed, maybe even, I don't know, in that somewhat in that range. Like, and the fit for Toronto, it's like you already have a bunch of forwards on this roster. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You already have Scotty Barnes, who you just paid. You just paid DeMar DeRozan. It just doesn't make, like, stylistically, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for either team to do this. But
I just love the Raptors, man. They're so fun. They're just so fun. Yeah, I think what they're just going for is, you have the Bulls who want all the guards. I think these guys just want every lengthy 6'8" guy like possible. That's their team. There's no, we got aura like that. That's our team right there. We don't got we don't have like actual size, actual muscle. We got some crazy aura though with these dreads and 6'8". Like, that's crazy. Like, and I like Brandon Ingram. He's one of my favorite players to have on 2K. But like,
2K
Raptors, man, just give up, please. Like, just give up. Like, maybe
playing demons right here.
Next year, like, hey, maybe ship him out again. Ship out like maybe everybody else on your roster except Scotty Barnes. But like, there's just so many memes about the Eastern Western Conference after today, and they're all fantastic. So you got, yeah.
Well, I can't wait for the 2015 Atlanta Hawk memes to be making their way after the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Don't be doing that.
Trade away the winningest NBA player since January 1 of 2020, 263 total wins, which is more than 10, almost 20 more wins than the guy that's second, which is Jason Tatum and Jokic, who are tied for second. The Cavaliers trade away Jason Tatum, George Niang, and Karis LeVert, 3 second-round picks and 2 future pick swaps for DeAndre Hunter. Jokes aside, I do think this is a good move because Cleveland's getting a good defensive wing defender, which will bode well in matching up with some of the better NBA teams on the Eastern Conference that have good wing players in the playoffs. Niang is definitely a liability on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, he's a little better depending on matchups, of course. Certain teams he can't perform well against versus others. But again, winning-wise, he usually wins. But I think this is a good trade for Cleveland. It's unfortunate because I love seeing, obviously a former Iowa State player is having success in the NBA and going to play with Trae Young in the play-in position after being on the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference all year. That's kind of a rough go of it for Niang. But Hunter and Dawson, what do you think of this? Dawson, I wanted to hear from you last because you got that Cleveland bias in you. But Hunter, how are we feeling about this trade for DeAndre Hunter to Cleveland?
Yeah, I guess I'll talk because I'm also curious to hear Dawson's thoughts. But for the Hawks, like, I mean, you get the great George Niang. That's really all that matters.
You're going to win now.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
I don't know why. Like, when I saw this go through, I was like, man, Karis LeVert does seem like an Atlanta Hawk. And especially now, like with the trade like that we might be talking about here in a bit, Karis LeVert definitely feels like an Atlanta Hawk now. Why? No clue. But I guess he brings more offense to a Trae Young led team. So good going, Atlanta. Hopefully the picks kind of turn out. The fact that they get the pick swaps, I guess, will be maybe helpful. Probably not. Maybe helpful though. And especially as one of the headlines, of course, after we get through the trade deadline, we get all the future tweets and stuff, especially thinking about Trae Young's future or lack thereof in Atlanta. I'm definitely curious to see, I would want to revisit this again because, it's not really going to, help Atlanta that much, but hopefully, maybe Khris Middleton can bring some maybe more value even in another trade in the future if they decide to go separate ways with Trae Young.
Do you think this benefits Cleveland, though?
Oh, yeah. No, I like this move for Cleveland. I was mad because I want DeAndre Hunter on my team. But we'll get to the Bucks later. Or never again, preferably.
Oh, man. Atlanta Hawks fans, you are going to be introduced to the wild man that is Khris Middleton. This man, Khris Middleton, literally spins the wheel and acts like what player he wants to play like. It could be Michael Jordan. It could be Sonny Weems. We have no idea.
Sonny Weems is a name I never thought I would ever hear on the Hardwood Convos. Dawson, okay, I'm sorry. Side note. Neither of you probably know this, but Sonny Weems was a guy I would always sign on my 2K team.
2K14 legend Sonny Weems.
And would just absolutely cook with him. Sonny Weems will always have a special place in my basketball heart, man. I appreciate you just pulling that name out of nowhere. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No,
continue.
But Khris can play really well, but Cleveland's team didn't need shot creation anymore, which is why Khris was brought in the first place. They need big athletic wings that can defend 3s and 4s, and a guy that could shoot. Hunter's had his ups and downs over the last few years, but he's averaging close to 20 points a game this year, shooting almost 40% from 3. I like the move a lot for Cleveland. Yeah, Atlanta Hawks fans, you are going to be in a wild treat for the Khris Middleton show. Let's get that off my screen. Get it off
the AI version of George Niang in Atlanta.
His eyes are what's getting me, dude. Is it there's no pupils in his eyes? It's weird.
Yeah, I think it's a good trade for Cleveland, all jokes aside. But we'll see how the season actually goes out for them. I don't think we need to hit on the Luka Dončić trade anymore outside of everything that's been talked about. By the way, you mentioned Trae Young. Trae Young and this man right here have somehow escaped every trade deadline in their entire career. For the people that are not watching the video,
is that George Hill back there? Oh man,
what
happened to George Hill, dude?
For those that are not watching the video form of this podcast, this is a photo of Miles Turner doing a jump hook over Tim Duncan. And he's still in an Indiana Pacers uniform. This man has been in trade deadline rumors literally since the beginning of his time in Indiana. And I think he's in the top 6 of literally almost every statistical category, probably outside for a post player that you would expect, who's been with the franchise for almost, actually probably over 10 years now. Tony Parker's in the background. George Hill's in the background. That's how long that this guy, Miles Turner, has been. Trae Young is now entered Miles Turner level of escaping the trade block. Because I think last year Dawson and I did a live reaction, and I even said that Trae Young would be on the San Antonio Spurs the next year at some point. Didn't end up happening. They ended up actually getting, in my opinion, a better fit for them in De'Aaron Fox. But I just wanted to point out that Trae Young and Miles Turner, man, you guys are a special breed because every year you're on the trade block. Every year the trade deadline comes around and it's like, all right, where's Miles Turner going? All right, where's Trae Young going? It's finally over in Atlanta. And then nothing happens. Is there another guy, though, that for you guys that comes to mind that always seems to be on the trade block and never ends up going? Or at least maybe in the past?
I don't know.
I can't think of any.
Like DeAndre Jordan. I'm getting his last little bit with the Clippers. He had a few years where he was going to get moved to the deadline, but didn't.
Mine, I have 2, and of course, after they actually got moved, once they ended up becoming tradable assets even more. Blake Griffin seemed to always, like, towards the end of Lob City, seemed to always be in trade rumors for a couple years. And then up until the trade to New Orleans, Boogie Cousins, it seemed like year after year, was trade rumors, just because Sacramento couldn't build anything around him. And it seemed like he always escaped it. But once he got traded to New Orleans, it seemed like every other year he was either getting traded or signing somewhere else. Who was the guy that you were thinking of, Dawson?
I was gonna say PJ Tucker, but PJ Tucker also just got traded like this week. So I don't know
Yeah.
if that's I don't know if that's a fair one, but he just feels like he's played for so many random teams over the last decade. Like there's the stint with him on the Raptors, Rockets, Suns, Clippers, Bucks, obviously. He like just a bunch
played
of
for everybody.
randomness.
He has probably a rainbow jersey collection too.
Probably does.
I did think of one. I was looking through. This one probably isn't like a huge one, but I feel like it's one, especially like there are a few Bucks fans the past couple of years actually been looking at it. Colin Sexton. I feel like not a guy that's like always in trade rumors, but it's like, we need a guard. Let's get Colin Sexton because surely the Jazz don't want him still. And yet he survives. I don't know how he's the player in the Jazz that survives, but he survives.
That's a good question. We're not gonna hit the one trade that you want to
Buddy
talk
Hield's
about first.
another one. I forgot about Buddy Hield.
Buddy Hield is one. That's a good one.
When the era with the Pacers was like, Lakers can get Buddy Hield and Miles Turner for Westbrook and 2 picks.
One of the final trades here before we get into the big one that we wanted to talk about that happened before the deadline. The Clippers made a trade to ship Kevin Porter Jr. to Milwaukee. Hunter, quick analysis on that one. Obviously, we're going to hit the one that really hit you hard, but
which one?
Thoughts on Kevin Porter going to Milwaukee?
I'm gonna be pretty blunt about this. So Marjon Beauchamp, it seemed like he did not want to be on the team anymore, right? I would rather have a guy who doesn't want to be on my basketball team than a domestic abuser. Yet here we are. So I'm pretty disappointed in Jonathan Horst for making that move, to be honest. And he could have gotten anybody else, and I would have been fine with it. He got the one guy. I'm like, why would you bring this guy to the city of Milwaukee?
I didn't even think about that.
I just don't. I'm lost.
All right.
Hey, he plays well if he doesn't.
No. He also is shooting his worst yet again. Another player shooting sub 30% from 3-point range. Sub 30% on a team with Giannis. What are we doing?
Okay.
Oh.
All right. Let's get into the reason that we're really
the
here.
Yusuf Nurkic trade?
No,
That was pretty big.
That was pretty big trade. There was a first round pick involved. I don't know why we're not talking. I'm sorry.
All right. So
Rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, let's rip the Band-Aid. Milwaukee has made a trade with Washington. New York also got involved, but very light. All they got out of it was DeLon Wright and cash considerations. Milwaukee ships off Khris Middleton, the Middleton era for the Bucks is over, as well as AJ Johnson, and they also get a 2028 first round pick swap for Kyle Kuzma, Patrick Baldwin Jr., Jericho Sims, and a second round draft compensation. Dawson, I want to start with.
Oh boy, me?
Yes, because I
man.
want Hunter to sit and fume over this. What are your thoughts on this trade? What does this do for the two main teams involved in this, Milwaukee and Washington?
I'm going to say a number.
Oh,
0.281. What number do you think that is?
wins lost.
Kyle Kuzma's 3-point percentage this year.
I recognize that from a mile away.
Oh no.
Kyle Kuzma is averaging his career low in points since his last year with the Lakers. He is shooting his career worst in 42%. But hey, maybe him and Giannis will work. That's all I'm going to say. It can't be worse than some of the stinkers Middleton was putting up over the last few games. But Hunter, I think that's all I had to say.
Khris Middleton didn't deserve to go out like this, man. That's the third all-time leading scorer in Bucks history. Just got traded for Kyle freaking Kuzma. Are you kidding me?
And we're copyrighted.
I'm sorry. I had to do that.
This is gonna get even bigger than it needs to be. One of my favorite things to do is send voice memos to people when I'm driving, because texting and driving is dangerous, right? But voice memos, I can yap, we can get going. The amount of rage condensed into 5-minute voice memos for the past 2 days is immeasurable. It is hotter than the sun at this point. Because holy cow, man, I don't understand what this team is doing. And Jonathan Horst needs to answer. I wish he was the GM of Detroit at this point. I'll say it. He should have left when he could have. And instead, Khris Middleton gets to leave first before Bobby Portis, before Pat Connaughton, Brooke Lopez, even Marjon Beauchamp. Marjon Beauchamp lasted 1 day longer. Yet here we are in the big 2025, and we got Kyle Kuzma. Praise the Lord. That'll be what saves this team. We got so much younger and so much better. The amount of things that Kyle Kuzma can do better than Khris Middleton, who, by the way, has one working ankle, there's nothing. You can't even argue he's healthier, because that doesn't mean anything when he's a worse player. I don't like, and that I could. Even the AJ Johnson part, everything about this trade was terrible, is what I'm trying to hammer home here, okay? You reached so far to draft a 165-pound kid who was starting to grow on me. This is where it gets really bad, because he actually looked good. And what do? You trade him for Pat Baldwin Jr., who, by the way, is not on the team anymore. Because we sent him and money to the Spurs for nothing. Wow. It is more like, I wish Nico Harrison was the worst GM. I really do. Because that means Khris Middleton would still be on my basketball team. Because you had a bad day.
Brock, before you go, anytime please tell me if you remember the graphic I'm referring to, but it's like a Lakers fan page from like when Kuzma and Tatum first got drafted, and it's just like the side by side of the stats. Anytime
posted so many times.
Anytime I think of Kuz, I think of that graphic. If you're able to pull it up, I'll be impressed.
I've seen tweets that say they really let us get this demon, and it's one of two things. It is that photo or a minute straight of Kyle Kuzma air balls from this year.
He's got a lot of them for some reason.
I think it's is it the like ratings wise one?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
It's like him versus Tatum.
This is old tweet, so it's not like
old tweet.
This is literally posted by Underdog Sports, like back in 24.
Yeah.
Or shoot. Here we go. I'll full screen it here.
There it is. There's the graphic I'm referring to. That every time I think of Kuzma, I just think of that. And hey, maybe Kuzma could turn into that. He ends up being better than Jason Tatum. You guys are gonna win the title this year.
I love that he has a little bit more potential than Tatum.
Yeah, yeah. The third pick of the draft, not as much potential as the 27th.
Way better on defense too. Golly, so much better. There's one thing I know about Kyle Kuzma. It's how good of a defender he is.
And now Tatum's like a top 10 wing defender in the league. It's insane.
By the way, this guy can't, like, I don't hope for players to do bad. Kyle Kuzma posted something, and he said, "Let's go Bucks Nation." Spelled it B-U-C-S. Sir, you're in Milwaukee, all right? There's a K on the end of that word. You are not in Tampa Bay. You're not playing football, all right? You play for the Milwaukee Bucks.
Hey, he'll have the best pregame walk, like fashion shows, dude. He'll have some crazy outfits. He'll have the sweater, the pink sweater that keeps getting bigger and bigger each time.
At this point, it's just like don't be that team. Don't be that team.
What's next
Don't
for
lose to
Giannis?
us. Dude, trade Giannis. Honestly, like get him out of Milwaukee, please. Let me. I really drag people for like leaving fan bases. I won't blame Luka fans for leaving. As long as nobody blames me for leaving once Giannis leaves. If the trade deadline would have gone any way else and Giannis would get traded in the future, I still would have been loyal. And at the end of the day, I'm probably still going to be loyal. But holy cow, I don't want to be affiliated with this team. Just terrible. But don't worry, guys. Don't worry. We got our athletic center in Jericho Sims.
You have Derry Bird still.
We do have Derry Bird. Thank goodness we have Northern Iowa legend to save my team. Oh. It's been a long couple days.
Oh, Brock, we don't need to rub it in, dude. Brock, you're doing too much.
I played the wrong song. I'm sorry. I'm kidding. That was unintentional. When the Celtics lose in the first round, you can play that during our show, Hunter.
To the Heat?
No, they'll probably lose to the Hawks now that they have George Niang.
Would you even be mad?
No, I would, because I absolutely hate playing against George Niang. I never understood the saying of like, he's the type of guy that you want on your team, but you don't want to play against until I watched the Celtics play against George Niang.
Cavs.
And I'm like, I freaking hate this guy.
He's annoying, dude.
But I love the guy at the same time. So it's hard, man. It's hard. Hunter, stay strong. Opening day is not that far away for the Brewers.
We don't have $5 gajillion to just pay all our players, though.
Yeah, that's true. Baseball's cooked.
Baseball's cooked.
Let's go Chiefs.
Maybe Packers can get Cooper Kupp. Or you can just be negative.
Sports is who watches sports?
Honestly.
Who watches a bunch of men throw things for made-up points? What does that accomplish?
Yeah. Where I watch people punching each other in the face.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
I hate basketball. I hate everything about basketball.
Well, we'll see if Hunter shows up for the next episode. But I know Dawson will be here. Hopefully it's after a successful an Eagles loss, because screw the Eagles. Screw any Philadelphia team. But enjoy the Super Bowl this weekend. Enjoy the NBA games. Enjoy the college basketball games as well. Make sure to follow, subscribe, share, comment, leave a review. Anything you can do to support us, we truly appreciate it. Tell your friends to listen to us. You don't understand how much we appreciate the viewership and the support and all that. So it allows us to do multiple episodes per week like this. So for Hunter Rose and Dawson Livingston, I'm Brock Bierman. We'll be back next week for some more NBA content. All-Star Weekend is next week, so maybe we can do a little preview of that, get away from the actual in-season debacle that the NBA's had this year with Luka and other trades happening. But we'll see you guys next week. Prayers for Bucks fans.